already talked about, Mark, with the TIOC program of trying to make sure that people who come into Medicaid get assistance to be able to get a good job. It's not simply telling them they have to get a job. And in reality, the people that will be picked up on this are the people who already have jobs. The people who are below 40%, adults who are below 40% of the poverty level, they get Medicaid right now. It's people who are basically between 40% and 138% of the poverty level who are the ones who would be picked up with Medicaid expansion. So they're making some money. It's just very little money. And part of what we need to do is give them the tools and the skills and the opportunities to get better paying jobs. They will be better off. And eventually, many, if not most of these people will be able to move from that category to jobs that pay enough to be able to make sure that they can support themselves. So it's a benefit to those individuals, it's a benefit to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we have the opportunity to make it happen. The other thing that we will have to do is to address the issue of the health insurance premiums, and we will be doing that, I think, over the next year there.
We understand that people like participate in the hypothermia program. 60% of them are working, but they might not have enough hours under the Medicaid expansion to meet the work requirement and might get bumped off. So I think that's something we need to keep an eye on, that actually people are losing their health care. Instead, there may be gains, but that people who are already already part of the program aren't bumped off. So Delegate Watts has just joined us. Thank you for coming. I want to call on at this point Delegate Murphy. You had a bill in anti-gun violence for domestic abusers, and I wonder if you could, because of your interest in the anti-gun violence area, if you could share what happened on that bill and some thoughts or your perspectives.
Well, first I'd just like to start by saying this year we started the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus. And it's a bipartisan, well, semi-bipartisan. Anyway, it's Senate and House. Adam and I did this together. Every year I have put in a number of bills to prevent gun violence. This year, one was heard, which was remarkable because they didn't even assign most of my bills to even any committee at all. They didn't hide them in rules, they just didn't deal with them. And they said it was because we were really busy. The bill that I put in that actually, it was kind of a moderate, I moderated it from its original bill. And it was a bill that made, that made it a felony on the second conviction for domestic violence. It started out as a bill that made, on their third conviction, because you can't really believe that you have to be convicted 4 times before you go to jail for domestic abuse. It's kind of frightening. And that was pretty much the argument I made. But they didn't like the idea that we could go backwards and count the many times it had been excused when they go in and they get a slap on the hand and told not to do it again. So we were going to get that counted as the third conviction, because then it would have made it a felony. And the Senate didn't like that. They thought it might be unconstitutional, so we worked together and they decided that on your second conviction for domestic violence, that they would make it a felony. Well, the reason that it failed was when it went into appropriations, it was going to cost $15 million. And the reason for that is that there are over 11,000 incidents of domestic violence where someone is convicted a second time. Now think about that. 11,000 people go to court and get convicted 2 times. That has to tell us why it's a good idea to make it a felony and put them in jail so they can't continue to beat their spouse or partner. The other thing that I was really focused on was women veterans. I serve on the Board of Veteran Services, and I found out that we have 104,000 women veterans here in Northern Virginia, well, across Virginia. And some of them are homeless, of course. They're having a really hard time reintegrating and getting jobs. But a lot of these women veterans don't believe they deserve the same benefits that the men do. So I convinced the Board of Veteran Services to help me with the bill that creates a women veterans coordinator, so that these women will have someone to talk to that is a woman and who can help guide them through this process. And that was a big victory, because that passed and actually got, so far we don't know how it's going to end up in the Senate. It passed, but it's the funding that's the issue now. It's all of $126,000. I know that's a lot to pay for those 100,000 women veterans, isn't it? But these are the sort of things that I get to focus on, because everyone else focuses on all of the really big.
What about guns in church? There's a bill that you can bring your gun to church.
Guns in church.
What happened to that bill?
They kill all our bills. They killed the bump stock bill. We had a woman who came to testify, and she had been a victim in the Las Vegas shooting, and her aunt who was with her was shot, and she begged them to ban bump stocks. I mean, it is illegal to have an automatic weapon. You would think it should be illegal to have a device that makes a weapon automatic.
Go figure, okay.
Yeah, really.
We went to the gun rally, and en route to Richmond, we heard that the Senate had killed 20 gun bills. It was a committee that morning at one time. Before we got there, they had killed 20
bills. They just didn't bother to put into a committee. So we had a successful year, but it could get better if we could just get that 2 more seats.
Well, thank you. We're going to look forward to working with you on the TANF Scholarship Pilot Project. That's an important bill that gives hope to the kids on welfare, that they too can aspire to go to college, that they'll have an opportunity to compete.
I'm going to post them probably
and to be
today,
able
a little later.
to
Probably
rise
post them
above
on
the
YouTube.
welfare kind of existence that they're
I'll send you the link.
experiencing. So, David Reed, we heard